What's going on, guys? I'm Dobry and this is Football Manager, and in this video I'm going to talk about the youth intake. This is something I have tested for many hours. I have almost 1,000 hours in Football Manager 21, and I have even more hours in the other Football Managers, and I'm going to get into Football Manager 22 in the near future as soon as all the bugs and other problems are ironed out. However, I'm pretty sure the youth intake everywhere is the freaking same. As such, I'm going to talk about what do those lines mean and what to look at when you're doing a youth intake. As you can see, it is the 12th of December. Usually the youth intake is in the Vanarama National for I'm playing with York on the 12th of December, and I decided to play around with it and see what happens. This meant making a number of saves, which I left run while being on vacation to see what happens at the end of the youth intake. So, this taught me what lines to look at, what to enjoy, what to say, nope, I don't like this. And this is a perfect example of a youth intake where there are lines that you're going to look for, and there are lines that you're going to be like, nope, this is not telling me much. The first line is precisely there are a lot of wingers in the system. This line is telling you nothing. It only tells you, yep, there are wingers. Nobody says that it has potential. Nobody says it's good enough. Nobody says it's decent. It says nothing. As such, avoid those lines. Very often you will see there is a healthy number of backs in the pipeline. There are a lot of wingers in the systems. We have plenty of wide midfielders. We have plenty of central midfielders in the pipeline, and so on and so forth. This tells you that you just have them, but it never tells you that they have some potential. The second thing you need to know, for example, if you look at a certain position, it will never tell you a line like, for example, here, top prospect, handy prospect, great prospect. It will never tell you a line like that. Every position is combined with a certain line. For example, the wingers will always be handy prospects. The center of midfield will always be top prospects. Stuff like that. As such, what we're looking for when you're doing the intake, for example, if you're the type who re-rolls the intake until he gets something or she gets something decent to see what happens, it is a perfect valid way of playing. Of course, not for the hardcore players, but who cares? It is a perfect valid way of playing, and you need to know what to look for. For example, this is the intake I decided to keep. It says there are a minimum of 3 center backs that look rather promising. And keep in mind, I'm in a freaking York. They're in the Vanarama League North. For the purposes, let's preface. Let me before I show you everything. Let me preface everything. How did I start the game and what was my idea? Because I believe this is the moment you will understand where my thought process began and how did it unfold. So, look at my squad. I was doing a challenge where I'm not allowed to sign any player at all, even on free transfers. So I was playing with my main squad, and I even removed a couple of players in positions I have too many players in. I have activated the current ability and potential ability in order for me to see all the time in real time how are the players progressing. For example, if I see that, well, Duckworth is 28, but let's take Harry Flutters. Harry Flutters is 70 on the 12th of December, and his maximum potential is 96. I have a save, which is further into the future, where I'm going to show you what happened from the youth intake and what happened with these guys. This is the way to look in real time how their abilities change without going into Okay, let's see. Rion Potts. Development, progress, attributes, all time. He kind of developed a little bit, but not much. That's the way, that's exactly the easiest way to see it. And this is why I activated those. This way, and with this challenge, I wanted to find out what is the best youth intake for me because I can only sign players for my youth intake. I cannot get in any way, shape, or form other players. And this is why I needed the most information in the easiest amount of time possible that I can get without going through 50 million menus and getting my head full of data that I will forget in the next 2 hours, for example. So I started playing with the youth intake. There we go. So in this youth intake, it was said to me, I can show it here, I can show it here. Let's go through the development center because it's easy. Every day in April, a match is organized between the players in order to decide which are the best ones, yada yada. So, we have a minimum of 3 center backs that look rather promising. This means that for the stature that York is in the Vanarama National, please be careful. This youth intake is always telling you what the youth intake is based on your stature. If you're top football team, it will still give you some good players, but there will be less because it is comparing the youngsters that are coming to the team that you're having. And this is why, as you're progressing through the leagues, those green lines they get less and less, and the quality in those lines it gets worse and worse. This is why I'm going to look at everything one by one. They're promising me at least 3 center backs. This means for the prospect of York, those 3 center backs are rather promising. They are promising me at least 2 top prospects in the center of midfield. So I'm looking at 3 plus 2. There are already 5 people that I could be looking at. One of our wingers is a very handy prospect, so I'm looking at 6 people that I may be interested in. And we have one good English right winger from Scarborough that has caught the eye. This is the 7th person that I'll be looking at. And of course, this is the best line that you're looking at. The second best is this is an excellent group of players coming through. This is always the line that you'll be looking for that usually gives you the best outcome with the best potential. Now that we know what to expect and now that we know what to look for, to recap, don't pay attention to lines like a lot of wingers in the system, healthy number of center backs, healthy number of side backs, and healthy number of full backs, healthy number of wide midfielders. These lines tell you nothing. It's just that those positions are stuffed with people. God knows what the potential is. What you're looking for, as many of those lines that promise you a specific type of person. One good winger, one top prospect in the midfield, one very handy prospect, one of the attacking midfielders is a great prospect, stuff like that. And now let's see what happened after I worked on this intake. This is actually one of the first and second options that I had. So, which was the save that I took? I think it was this one. Okay, are you guys here or did I already sign you up? I already signed you up. So, let's see what appeared. A goalkeeper, which was outside of the aforementioned intake. Current potential 26, full potential 108. Amazing for the second league. I cannot complain. I was promised at least 6-7 people. I'm happy. There is your winger. That is a very handy prospect. Current potential 47, maximum potential a freaking 103. 40. There you go. This is your winger that was promised by your intake. Then we have a an attacking midfielder right center, 3287. Now this is of course outside of the youth intake, probably one of the guys that showed up with in the orange lines. They are not amazing potential, but still it can fill up my position because I need people in this intake. I just need bodies because I cannot sign any people. I cannot sign any players, be it on free transfer, nothing. Now, there is one of the midfielders that was promised. CM, one of the top prospects in the center of midfield. Yes, he is 107. But for York, this is a top prospect. York is playing in the Vanarama League North. This is a top prospect at 107. This is the second top prospect in the center of midfield. As you see, main position, center of midfield. 152. There is your top prospect in the center of the midfield. The game promised it to you and it gave it to you. So what is in the youth intakes is actually what are you going to really get. The next person is a DM, CM and a right back. Now this guy can also count towards the prospects or it may not, because it said that at least 3 center backs are promising, and in this case center backs could be backs who play in the center indeed, like CDs, or they could be center back, right back, left back, or center back, left back. And I will also show you the youngsters. There are also some of the prospects that were promised there, but they have much less potential. However, let's not forget that we are playing in the Vanarama League North. A person with over 70 potential is considered real good. Never forget where you're playing, and never forget what the youth intake means for you. If you're in the Premier League, if you're in La Liga, if you're in Ligue 1, your intake will look much less like this because you are in your team is good, and the potential required from those players is at least, let's say, 120, 130 in order for you in order for the game to say, hey, wait, this guy is maybe real good. Maybe. The lower the league is, the bigger the chances of getting more green lines, which will provide the potential you require. Let's continue. There is the first central defender that was promised to us, because he is indeed a central defender. He also plays as a left back. He is 184, so he will be fine as central defender. Yes, he will require a lot of development, which is also something we need to talk about. It is extremely important to have good youth facilities, a good head of youth development, and as many coaches as possible. Since I'm in the Vanarama League North, I am not allowed to have as many coaches, that many coaches. I did sign as many coaches as possible. I actually kind of cheesed the game. At the beginning of the game, I was allowed to sign 3 coaches, which promptly were removed in the next month. However, since I signed those 3 coaches, they were there for the first year, and they were training the people, which is extremely important. Always pay attention what the board does. If the board removes your coaches, then freaking reload the save and go sign those coaches before the board decides to be a little bitch, because they are sometimes. Second central defender. There we go. The second central defender that was promised is right here. We were promised 3+. Yep, nothing amazing, but for that league, it's good. 179 will maybe grow a little bit more, and this is why I'm gonna play him either as a left back or a defensive midfielder, because I wouldn't use a 179 centimeter defender. I like my defenders to be real tall. But let's look at the other prospects. They're the candidates that weren't signed. There you go. This is the third central defender. He probably showed up with less potential. Let's look at it. 60. But for, as I said, for York in the Vanarama League North, this is a good prospect. Look at the stats. Look at the skills. This is a really good player for them. Yes, it will not develop much, but for for the Panorama League North, it is great. And this is our next defender. Yes, plays on a number of positions, but this is the third central defender that was promised by the system. Ben Bradshaw, probably the potential is also about 5160. Yep, these guys are the ones that I will not be looking at that much. They're probably with very poor potentials, but in the end, as you can see, whatever the youth intake promised, it delivered. Let me just look at this guy. Nah, 53 and 48, he will barely develop anymore. But whatever the youth intake said that it will give, it actually provided people with damn good potential if you decide to reload the game a couple of times, and either for testing purposes or because you like to play this way. Never forget, guys, this is a game, and as a game you are allowed to play it the way that you want. If it's fun for you to play that you want like this, then absolutely do it. I also enjoy playing the game like this from time to time. I'm actually pretty sick of playing Iron Man saves. As I said, I have over 1,000 hours in this game. I started as a person who plays absolute Iron Man saves. Whatever happens, happens. Whatever I'm given, I'm given. But every now and then, it's fun to make a game that's either a challenge, or is more interesting, or allows you to have more fun with it. And this challenge taught me a hell of a lot about the youth intake. I believe this is all, and this is why, in the end, I'm going to once again recap everything. Let's load the old save with the youth intake. There we go. Once again, what are we looking for when we're taking the time to judge and question ourselves about the youth intake? We're not looking for these lines. There are a lot of wingers in the system. There are healthy numbers of backs in the pipeline. We have a lot of wide midfielders. We have a lot of this. We have a lot of that. Those lines, you absolutely forget them immediately. If you have 4 or 5 of those lines, and then we have one good young English, let's say, central back that has caught the eye, this will give you pretty much next to nothing at the youth intake. You will get the good English, let's say, central defender, and you will get nothing else. Hopefully, if you have good coaches, if you're in a good league, if you have a good recruitment system, then those things that are like lots of wingers, lots of backs, lots of wide midfielders, lots of strikers, and so on, they will give you probably something, but it will not give you anything specific. What you want to look is specifics. Like this. Minimum of 3 center backs that look promising. 2 top prospects in the center of midfield. One of the wingers is a very handy prospect. And this line is a guaranteed. And of course you want to have either a golden generation or an excellent group of players coming through. Try it for yourself, guys. As I said, I have tested this over the past roughly 250 hours in a number of playthroughs with York and a couple of other teams outside England, and it has worked perfectly. And never forget, the intake is based on the quality of your current team and the league that you're playing in. This is why some teams get more green stuff, other teams, not things, other teams get less green stuff, and once again, more green is not always better. Before I finish the video, after the recap, I will very quickly outline what is the most important thing to give you a better intake, but this has been rehashed so many times that I will just be beating a dead horse here. But first things first, the head of field development. You want a head of field development ideally with some good stats here. The second thing that you want, and this is something that people do not talk about, he needs to have a secondary job as a coach. Why? When he has a secondary job as a coach, he can go on training courses. As you can see, my guy is studying for a Continental A license. Why is that happening? Because he has a secondary job as a coach. If he doesn't have a job as a coach, he will not go on coaching courses. He will be like, "Hey, Jude, why are you sending me to coaching? I'm not a coach. I'm just doing the youth intake and I'm just developing your youngsters." This is something very important. Of course, you want him to have judging player ability and judging player potential as high as possible. Next thing, of course, we're looking at good youth level and good youth facilities. As you see, York has absolutely crap facilities, and this is why even if the guys have a good potential, they are going to be poor in the stats. Their attributes will be crap because first things first, we have bad facilities and our youth level is bad. Knowing what I know, I have immediately recruited coaches. As you can see, I am 3 out of 0 coaches because the board was a bitch and immediately removed the coaches. Why? Why don't you want a good youth intake, you stupid board? And left me only with the manager and assistant manager. But knowing that, I was already prepared. And in order to keep your not to mention in order to keep your youth level, you need a manager, you need a fitness coach, you need a physio and stuff like that. It's not easy to keep a youth category, and this is why I took them immediately. If you take them the typical way, place advert, it will not work. By the time the advert is filled up, those guys will be gone. This is not a problem for top tier teams, but that's something else. So there are your mainstays of the youth intake. As I said, head of youth development, facilities, youth level, and the junior coaching and youth recruitment. This is something that you need to be improving all the time. This is why you have the club vision, and this is why you can pile it up on the board. Give me better youth recruitment, give me more facilities, give me this, give me that. Always, always, always demand in order to achieve some excellence. That's it from me, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope I have helped. Share your experiences and maybe subscribe, why not? It's a small channel, and I only upload every now and then, just for fun. That's it, guys. Thank you very much once again, and have a great day.